Hi there, great to see you once again. Glad to have you here with us on Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. Coming up in just a bit, he's created an ambiance in different parts of town for years, built a taste to please all kinds of palates, and has developed and massaged menus for Northwest Ohio. But the question this morning is, what's his why? Where does he find his passion and his purpose? Souk, he joins me in just a few minutes, so we hope you'll stick around for that. I'm looking forward to that conversation. But first, it has been just a little over a year since Malcolm Cunningham was tabbed as the leader of the mayor's initiative to combat gun violence in Toledo. Now, there's been significant change in the number of gun violence-related homicides since the peak that we saw during the pandemic. The Save Our Community initiative and the Violence Interrupters program from day one, right or wrong, was under a powerful microscope. This past week, the city announced a 5-year plan to address gun violence, a comprehensive safety plan. I would even go so far as to saying it looks at creating more quality of life moments for all of Toledo. Joining me to discuss the year that it has been and the new plan and how it will impact Toledoans is Malcolm Cunningham. And also, we wanted to point out we are glad to be joined by the commissioner of the Save Our Community school-based team, Josh Davies. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Malcolm, good to see you again. And I was saying before we came out here, a year and a few weeks, you were sitting in the exact same position talking about, man, oh man, what is it going to take to try to stem the tide?
Absolutely.
Before we go forward, let's do a little reflective action and talk about the year it's been. And what have we learned? What have you learned specifically?
What have I learned specifically about gun violence? I've learned that it's an incredibly complex and awful issue that impacts more than just those that are on either side of the gun.
You knew that going in, though. That's not a revelation, right?
It's not a revelation, but I think understanding the depth of the challenge and understanding how many people have just been exposed to community violence and the impact that it has on them and the impact that it has on youth as they walk to and from school, as it happens within communities, as it impacts businesses. I think I've developed a really rich and detailed understanding of how it actually impacts people on a day-to-day.
We talked when you were on here before. You came from a background of a healthcare industry, working for ProMedica. Before you came over, you saw things from behind the scenes before you even took this position.
Yes.
But as you have assimilated into this project and what it has taken to try to stem the tide, what has been the standout for you?
The level of commitment and engagement and trust from community, being able to engage with them and learn from those that have already been impacted by gun violence, that have been on the other side of the gun again, and are willing to take such a strong attempt at attempting to change things, at attempting to address this issue of violence, has been in some ways far more empowering and heartwarming for me, perhaps, than it has been for them. We've been able to engage with stakeholders from across the city that have been impacted by gun violence in one way or another. They've been helping us develop the plans that go into the comprehensive plan. And I feel very, very good about the recommendations because they've contributed so much of their lived experience, so much of their expertise to this process.
This new project, which was released this week, called Peace in Motion, we're going to spend our second segment diving into that. Josh, one of the elements, and we talked with Malcolm last year about the fact that obviously youth violence was kind of the thing that was being talked about the most. You are spearheading this effort that is really looking at the schools. Talk about getting into the schools, because I know Malcolm mentioned that was important, having kind of that seed, if you will, planted. How have you gone about doing that?
So our school-based program actually turned 1 year old yesterday. It was 1 year anniversary since our team came on board. So we work with 4 schools throughout Toledo, Waite, Scott, and Woodward in TPS, and we're at Maritime Academy as well. At each of those schools, we have an interrupter and an outreach specialist, and what they do is they work very closely with students who are at high risk of experiencing gun violence. There are certain...
Work's a broad term. What do you mean specifically? What are they doing with these individuals?
So our staff, since we take a public health approach to gun violence, our staff are public health workers, and they work with the students to try to develop skills and resiliency, provide wraparound services, whether that means help at home. It could be trying to get a student on the path to a high-paying job. If there's conflict that's emerging, working to help to find a peaceful way to resolve it. So our team, they're all trained in mediation. They help to de-escalate. A lot of times in our community, the conflict that we see on the news might originate online. So our team is trained in the e-responder model on how to identify and work with those who are engaging in high-risk behavior online and trying to find other ways to promote safety, whether online, in person, and just working as a support for that student.
When you work for safety services, I talk to so many people who tell me it's a calling. I feel like this is a calling for you as well. What were you doing before this?
Prior to this, I was the hub director at Rogers High School, and have worked with young people in our school system for the past 11 years. So it very much is a calling for myself, for Malcolm, but for the people on our team, our interrupters, our outreach specialists. A lot of them were already doing this kind of work prior to being on our team, and everyone in Save Our Community and our partners who helped us with the plan are just very committed. This is a calling and a passion, and they go above and beyond all the time.
Malcolm, each lost life, whether it's 18 to 34, I know we're going to go through some stats, or some of our younger people throughout the community that we've lost over the last 8 months, but I think one of the conversations that come up, and maybe this is too easy of a jumping off point, but have you in the last year, and you grew up here, is there a gang problem?
Wow, it's always a complicated answer. I think the way that gangs form nowadays is not the same as it was in the early 90s when I was growing up in the Junction neighborhood. So it is not necessarily around drugs and access to resources in that way. It's more around interpersonal conflict, or conflict that blows up out of proportion, or conflict that emerges somewhere else and spreads from there. There are a number of gangs that form in response to losing someone that's been close to you. So it looks different. My understanding is it's a little bit younger than it had been in the past, and that it isn't, in some ways they used to call those types of gangs corporate gangs, and nowadays I guess they would say more of a freestyle gang, where it's younger people, it's more oriented towards honoring their friend that they've lost, or working through conflicts in that sort of way. So it's a complicated answer, but the reality is the root causes are not the gangs. The root causes are the things that create the need for them to feel safe and protected among one another.
This 5-year plan that was released this week, once again called Peace in Motion. We're going to dive into it right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing our conversation once again with Josh Davis and Malcolm Cunningham, talking about the new program that was just launched this week, Peace in Motion, a 5-year plan to combat not only gun violence, but I think, we talk about you being a part of, both of you, Save Our Community, and I think that's an overreaching umbrella term looking at this as well. Define for us Peace in Motion.
Peace in Motion. The work has never stopped. We have continued to work. All of our community partners have been engaged throughout. We call it Peace in Motion because the work of addressing violence has never stopped, and we've always been working towards peace. We're on the path because we do know that we've seen some promising results. We're never satisfied with any loss of life, but we do believe that we're moving in the right direction. So
we talked a little bit as we went to break, and I want to touch on this again. We talked about mental health during our break, and we talked about gangs. I asked specifically, and Josh, I want you to start with this, but I asked what you see in the schools, because there was so much talk about the impact of the pandemic, mental health, and where you see that right now. Has it gone away, or does it still exist?
It's not gone away. I think that schools have responded as best they can. All the schools that we work with, and almost every school in the area, has an embedded mental health partner that can work with students on site in the school building during the school day to talk with them and provide services. I think that long term, looking at the impact from COVID on mental health, we have yet to really understand how big it was.
Yeah.
But our young people went through a lot. They faced a lot of isolation, were exposed to a lot of loss and trauma during those years, and it's had a lasting impact, I believe.
Is it something that's brought up day in and day out in the schools? How do you guys implement conversations to get toward positivity? It's not built into the curriculum, right? Or is it?
There are efforts underway to promote positivity, of the positive school climate work in the schools happening, trying to provide safe spaces. With our team,
What does that mean? There are efforts underway. It's something that's happening this fall.
I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of any specific building. They implement their own plans.
Yeah.
But it's something that everyone's aware of and is trying to promote connection. School day events, after school events, things like that. After school programs, ways for our young people to stay connected and have a sense of community within their schools.
Yeah.
So
promoting positivity. Josh, before we run through some slides that were released this week to kind of talk about the building of this program, you talked about Boston University being so impactful in the studying of where violence happens, where it could happen. The RISE Lab is what we discussed a year ago. Yes. How, let me ask the question, how has that assisted in the last year?
It's helped us identify very small locations where the risk of violence is high. We are using their work with
Did it predict correctly?
We're using it in order to reduce risk long term. I'm not looking at it as a way to target a specific area as far as reducing the likelihood of the violence occurring right now. We're looking at it as a part of a long-term effort to turn down the temperature on risk.
Let's run through I want to run through some of these slides before we let you guys go. Once again, these were shared this week. Peace in Motion, some of the takeaways: exactly, increasing protective factors, building community capacity for violence prevention, addressing the role of social media in violent conflicts. That's not going away. Obviously, the impact that social media has, positive and negative. Providing comprehensive support. Now, as you look at the build, the makeup of what makes a community good, and I know this is hard to see there at home, folks, but is this picture we see right here the path to good?
We believe that we need a number of these critical supports in place. We believe that we need to have a hospital-based violence intervention inside of our city where someone can come to the bedside when a violent injury has happened to reduce the likelihood of violent re-injury. We believe that we need more street outreach programs like Save Our Community. Save Our Community will never be enough. It will never be in every single neighborhood, but there are people that are passionate, dedicated, and committed in every neighborhood. And the more that we can support them, the more that we can support those folks that are already out there doing the work, the more we believe we'll see a more safe and peaceful city.
Violence Interrupters is still a good functioning program?
Absolutely. We need to grow it. We need to bolster it inside of the city. We also need to grow it outside of the city as well.
There have been growing pains with it. Can you admit?
Yes, absolutely.
And where are the numbers right now? You said you're in every school that you mentioned, of those four, and the fifth one being the Maritime Academy. How many violence interrupters exist?
We have 11 between the schools and the street-based team. They are essentially one team. They work so closely together. My goal is to get them up to about 16 in 2025.
And that will be the perfect number, or there is no perfect number?
I do not think that there is a perfect number. I believe that we need to strengthen our internal team, but we truly need to build up the ability of the entire city to be able to do this type of work.
Let me ask you this, and I think we talked about this a year ago as well. There has been this buzz phrase, social determinants of health, throughout the course of time here in the last 5-10 years here in Toledo.
Absolutely.
Neighborhood development, economic opportunity. Those are two things that came out again and again from this release of this Peace in Motion. Why is that so important, and why does it continue to be talked about, but we're not necessarily seeing
the action?
Exactly.
Right. Because Toledo has some of the most concentrated poverty in this country. There are pockets that exist here that are similar to countries outside of the U.S. And when
you're saying third world kind of situations?
I'm always wary of saying third world, but there's concentrated poverty here. There truly is, and there's this challenge where when they attempt to mobilize out of poverty, they run into a benefits cliff. So if they make more than $15 or $16 an hour, suddenly they no longer have their housing voucher. So their rent goes from $200 a month to $750 a month. So essentially your $100 a month weekly raise has become a negative 300 impact. I don't know if the math was right on that, but that's the reality of the challenge here. And it means that many people are not as motivated or even they're using sound logic in order to stay in the position that they're in because they know they have to stay secure.
Can people go online and see more about the Peace in Motion program?
Absolutely. Yep. It's ToledoOhio.gov/peace.
Malcolm, thank you. Josh, thank you. We appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back here on Leading Edge. I have wanted to have my next guest on for some time now. I grew up in Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan, and have visited and dined in so many of the great spots and restaurants that we all hold near and dear. But Musa is truly a generational talent, and hopefully our region appreciates what he has in skill, passion, and purpose. With Souk, the last 5 years or so, he has been able to utilize social media, brand his own YouTube channel, but we haven't even mentioned the food, the appetizers, the creative entrees, the desserts, the wine, so on and so forth. So it is so great to have Musa joining us here in studio, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I got to bring everybody up to speed because we were booked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You reached out to me and said, I hate to do this. I've got to cancel because staff couldn't come in. So when the curtain goes up, you got to be on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the trenches. I mean, every day. You can, my wife, my family, they can attest to that. You have to be there. I'm not doing anything. I don't have anybody do anything that I wouldn't do. So
Yeah.
I'm in the trenches every day. So and you have to be, sometimes the janitor, sometimes the dishwasher, sometimes the chef, sometimes the owner, and it's just the way it is. It's the life I chose.
You tell people the training came from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, that's
what does that mean exactly?
That means 18 hours a day of grinding it out, being a kid. My dad making me wash the bathrooms at like the deli or some of his bars, and just being in the trenches and going through what you go through on an everyday basis. I mean, I have a pastry chef that spent $70,000 I think to go to school and came and worked with me, which I'm self-taught, and said that she regrets wasting the money. So
let me ask you this: you like things that taste good, you like things that look good. What's your favorite?
It depends on what kind of.
It's got to taste good. I mean, that's kind of a stupid question, but
it's got to be all of it. I think people visually, when the plate's put in front of somebody, they're gonna. You're being judged right then, and then the taste.
It's like dating, right?
Yeah. I think I don't have to do that anymore.
I will attest to that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have 3 booths that are right in front of our window at Souk, and I call it the fish bowl.
Right in front of the line.
Right in front of the line.
Yeah.
So there's 3 booths, and a lot of people enjoy sitting there because I've created that expo where we're garnishing, and they're doing the espressos, they're doing Turkish coffee, and they're doing the desserts outside there. So that was what that was meant to do, because the kitchen is so small and claustrophobic that it's a miracle that we do the things we do out of that kitchen. But that was built by design and the menu was built to compensate for that small space, because we needed seating down there. And when we did this, I had just got done on Airport Highway with the Italian restaurant, and I was being courted by these guys for a bit, IBC Properties, which is Gary Mark and Joe Mark, fabulous guys. And the, Souk was it had to be a vision before, I think it has to be a vision in your head prior to even opening. So with their help, this whole thing came to life. But going back to the window across from the 3 booths, you can see the plate being set in front of people. You can see the reactions. You can see the smile. You can see the and hopefully it's not a negative. Thank God I rarely see that. But
you opened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, how have you been able to keep it going? How did you get through that?
It was October 1st of 2019. And we had our grand opening. We were rolling. Things were great. And then I remember that Sunday. I think it was Sunday, March 14th, because I think Wednesday was St. Patrick's Day.
You nailed it. It was exactly that week.
I talked to my friend Ed from the Blarney, and he had put up all those tents, and it was devastating. But I watched the news and I'm like, are you kidding me? What is going on? So my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time, we sat there, and it felt like it felt like almost an hour. It was probably 2 minutes, and I snapped out of it. And I'm like, okay, let's figure this out.
You took to social media. And,
yeah, I took to social media.
YouTube and
I
all
made
the
sure all
social
my
media outlets.
made sure all my employees were set up, got them set up for unemployment, got everybody set, and then I went into the kitchen for 9.5 weeks by myself.
Just create.
It's like an octopus, yeah. And 4 or 5 o'clock every day, all the orders were coming in, and you can't.
I've got to ask you, and I apologize. Our time is short. We could talk here for a half an hour. The new experience, which you are creating right next door to Souk, is.
I can't release the name yet. I can tell you it's going to be.
A culinary experience of some sort.
No, Culinary Maverick, yeah. Culinary Mavericks is my LLC, so we just wanted to put something up on the windows to for the interest. But it is going to be another concept, and the food is going to be revolved around the wine, champagne, and great spirits.
What's the timing of this whole thing?
Probably late October, November, hopefully.
Exciting?
Yeah, it's exciting.
Stressful?
It's scary. Yeah, very, very. I mean, it's never. I don't think if you don't have any hesitation, or not want to say hesitation, but any fear or anxiety over it, then I think you're nuts.
I meant what I said at the start, a generational talent, and I hope everybody appreciates it.
I really appreciate that. That's a compliment.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
He took time from his restaurant to come in here and spend some time with us here on a Thursday night. Musa, thanks. We'll be back right after this. Well, just a reminder, you missed any part of our conversation, you can always find us on the WTOL 11 YouTube page, and of course, Apple and Spotify podcasts. Leading Edge is a podcast. Find it there. I'm Jeff Smith. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We hope to see you next time.